What's up, guys? So ice baths, cold plunge. It's like the trendy thing if you're familiar with the Wim Hof method, which is breathing and cold submersion, right? And I'm a definite fan, right? So I had liked it for a while, and then I tried Ryan Dossey's Cold Plunge, and I loved it. And I was like, man, I got to get one of those. During the pandemic, cold plunges became extremely expensive, like $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for, you know, this thing that gets cold, right? Like I could go buy an entire hot tub that sleeps or sits like 4, 5, 6 people for the same price as a cold plunge that sits me on my own for 5 minutes, right? So I was looking at alternatives, and my good friend Mike had built exactly what I'm about to show you guys, and it was like $700 all in, vice the thousands of dollars, right? So to quick overview, cold therapy it's great. Endurance, athletes know it as great for muscle recovery, and it is. It's great mentally as well. It forces you to sit and breathe through it, and really it's almost meditative, right? I use this as my like 5 to 10 minute like meditation that I do almost every day now. At the end of the day, it revitalizes you. It invigorates. I don't know. It's a weird thing that people can't seem to grasp their head or wrap their head around until they do it. And I know it's a little odd to be like, I like to jump in 48-degree water for 5 to 10 minutes and breathe through it and whatever. But there's a ton of health benefits. But what I wanted to do was just, if you're interested in one of these, I wanted to provide you with a much more affordable version. Now, I will say, and I didn't prep my cameraman for this, so I don't even know if we're gonna be able to focus, but do you think you can get that Rubbermaid real quick so that was my first cold plunge, and it was $200 for a 150-gallon Rubbermaid tub, and I thought, hey, if I use this consistently through the winter, then I'll know that it's worth buying one of these, right? Because I'll know that I'm actually gonna use it. And I did. I used it fairly consistently whenever it got cold enough to utilize. And I even used it when it was so cold I had no business being in it. There was one time this winter, and I think it's on my TikTok, me and my 5-year-old, it took us probably 20 minutes with like a sledgehammer to get through the like 6 inches of ice on top of it. And then the sidewalls and bottom was all solid ice. So I was sitting on ice and touching ice and chunks of ice floating around. And the water was 32.5 degrees. And I did like 3 minutes, and it was too much. Like it took me like an hour to regain tingling in my fingers. So it was pretty intense, right? So I try to stay in the like 40 to 50 range, usually around 48 with this guy right now. I'm probably gonna drop that down later, but basically it's just a few pieces. So you don't even really have to have this, but I like it. So this is a sump pump. This one's like, I think this was like $50, and you attach a hose to it and you just drop it in and it pumps all the water out super quick. Now there is a drain plug on this. So theoretically, whenever you want to change the water like once a month, you could pop the drain plug, let it drain. But if you do that, it's going to drain right there. So I bought the sump pump so you can stick it in, run a hose out into the grass, and this thing pumped it out in I think like 10 minutes. So the other piece, obviously, a 14.8 cubic foot deep freeze. And I'm going to link to all this stuff in the bottom in the video so you can buy the exact same stuff. And then if you have room in the garage, just put it in the garage somewhere out of the weather, but I don't. So I bought this handy dandy cover that, there's pollen here, so it keeps it covered, right? And then this is the final piece, and we'll show you the rest of this in a minute. Basically, you set this for whatever temperature you want the water to stay at, and then you can set a differential. So I have a 3-degree differential. So what that means is it's set for 48. If it hits 51 degrees, it will turn on the deep freeze until it gets to 48, and then it will turn off the deep freeze once it gets to 48. And all this does, I'm gonna put it back where it goes. Oh, come on. And all that does is it has a temperature probe in the water, and it tests the water temperature. And when it drops to that temperature or goes up to that temperature, it turns on the power. And when it gets below that temperature, it turns off the power. So it's easy. All right, so we'll show you what this thing looks like. So it's pretty straightforward. It is a deep freeze. Here's that temperature probe that I talked about for monitoring the temperature, and it just drops in the water like that. And then I put a little towel back here to make it a little bit more comfortable for where my head rests on the edge of this. And I get in and I put feet that way and head that way. And I just immerse myself up to a jawline and sit in it for, depending on how much time I got, 5 to 10 minutes. And then you feel amazing. And if you have time, I get out and I just enjoy the sun. And if it's evening or I don't have time, I get out and I just go hop in the shower and take an actual shower and warm up that way. So that's it. And we're gonna go film a couple other videos, and then I'm gonna come back to this as our last video and jump in this bad boy and talk you through some of the breathing. For the non-B-roll portion about the deep freeze, I mean, this is it, right? So I do have a little like cold water chlorine that I put a little bit in to keep it sanitized. Kind of discolors the water a little bit, but you know, that's okay because I'd rather have that and sanitized, and I don't care to do all of the pool chemicals. But basically, you hop in here, and I try to move around every couple of minutes because you'll get into a position where there's like a layer of like warm water on the outside where your body is kind of heated up, almost like a wetsuit. And so I'll move around and I'll lift my arms up to, you know, my armpits will get warm, so then I'll lift my arms up to make it cold again, and maybe I'll tuck my knees in and, you know, whatever. But ultimately, once you get in here, you know, I always hold my fingers like this because your fingers are like the one thing that does get really cold really fast. And you just want to sit and, you know, focus on your breathing and, you know, be in the moment, right? Be present. It forces you to be present. And a lot of people, you know, one of these days I'm probably going to build a sauna because going from like sauna to ice bath back and forth is even more beneficial, because when you go in the ice bath, your body pumps all the blood into your core, and then when you go in the sauna, your body pumps all the blood back out to your extremities, so you're really working that, you know, vasodilation or whatever, your blood vessels, your heart, and all the things that keep your body functioning well. But and when you're in here, there's a lot of breathing stuff that you can do. There's a book, I believe it's just called Breathe, and it's yellow, and it's got all kinds of different kinds of breathing, and you know, some of it that you shouldn't do in water, like tumo breathing, I think it is, that's like hyperventilation where you can pass out. So definitely don't do that in the water. But the two that I usually do, and there's a few different types of breathing that I will do in here, but the two that I mainly do are either I forget if I guess they just call it 4 count. I don't know, but it's breathe in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, and I'll do that cycle a few times. So that's supposed to bring focus and whatever. So that's just, you know, in 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4. And so it's in 4, hold 4, out 4, hold 4. You do that, you know, it's literally just and that's a good one. And then another good one, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to do this one while counting, so I'm just going to tap on the side, you know, but it's 4 in, immediately 7 out, hold for 8, and you repeat. And that one is very calming. If you're stressed, you know, I'll do that 5 or 10 times. The hold for 8, depending on how fast you count, can feel a little bit aggressive, but it's very calming. This is actually one that they recommend if you're struggling to go to sleep. You do this 5 or 10 times and your body will calm down a lot. So it's so 4 in, 7 out, hold for 8. Do that 5 times. And then sometimes you'll mess around with, you do like 5.5 in, 5.5 out, and you just do that. So it's just literally just slow and steady in, slow and steady out to, you know, be calm and present and everything. And there's a couple other breathing techniques. Those are the ones that I usually stick with. And then sometimes I'll do minor external breath holds, so like carbon dioxide, like CO2 breath holds, which means like you breathe in for like 5 or 6, breathe out for 5 or 6, and then hold on the exhale for like 10. Don't push that in the water, right? Don't get uncomfortable, but there's a lot of data out there, and the Breathe book talks about this, where if you just breathe less, it does wonders for you. And so the idea of being able to hold when there's no air left in your lungs, and function is supposed to be really good for you and really beneficial. So, but yeah, I'll sit in here for 5 or 10 minutes. You know, like I said, I'll move around and, you know, make sure I'm cold again, whatever. It's kind of funny because I'll get out and the water temperature will go up like 2 degrees. You know, so you're making a difference. But this is all about being present. It's good for you mentally. It's good for you physically. And you know, when I get frustrated, this is a place that I'll go to try to center myself. The weather, especially if the weather's not good enough to go for a walk. But I try to do it almost every time I come home. You know, I'd like to do it right when I get home so that I'm refreshed and invigorated before I hang out with the family. But a lot of times it ends up being, you know, I do this at like 8 o'clock at night and then take a shower. But I've been trying to do it 5 times a week, and I've met or exceeded that for the last 3 weeks. And so, well, thanks for this video, because you guys helped me check the box for today, so yay! And then you'll get out and you'll be totally red because your body's cold and the water, you know, the blood's going all over the place, and especially like your chest will be red because all the blood rushed to your chest. And then, you know, you warm up. Like a lot of times that's a shower or bath or something to warm yourself back up. And then if it's warm out, you know, whatever, or just naturally. So like this time, I'm going to get out, I'm going to dry off, I'm going to put on sweats and a hoodie because I got a Zoom call in 12 minutes, and then I'll warm up that way. So yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this video. You know, if you got questions about the DIY build, but it's basically deep freeze, cover, temp gauge, pump, maybe some cold plunge, you know, chlorine or whatever, and then maybe a hose for your pump. But super simple, nothing crazy. And then normally I will put the head under on the way out of the water, but, well, it'd be silly not to do that this time. So I was going to say, but no, I got a Zoom call in 10 minutes, but if I don't do it, no one's going to believe that I ever put my face in the water, and, you know, credibility and shit. So better like and subscribe. And that's the ice bath. And we're done.